Alright, I am Machine Gun Joseph Gabiola. I've had 14 Muay Thai fights, 2 boxing fights.
So I'm sitting here with Joseph Gabiola, and we're just going to have a little bit of a chat about Thai boxing and training for Thai boxing fights. Everyone has their own little story when talking about where they started and where they came from, but I think that journey is important to getting more people involved. So Joe, can you just tell us a little bit about what the state of your life was like a little bit before martial arts, so we can kind of see where it is that you were and where it is that you are now?
Yeah. So before I started martial arts, I was probably 2 or 3 years out of high school. I pretty much had very little direction with what I wanted to do with my life. I'd tried a few things, none of them seemed to really excite me or make me feel like putting a whole lot of energy into. So the one thing that I kind of was getting more and more passionate about was watching the UFC and different martial arts. I ended up going down and seeing Ronda Rousey fight at UFC 193, and I was actually probably about 103 kilos at that event.
Yep.
And I remember watching and just thinking, man, I actually really enjoy this, and I need to get involved somehow. I need to find a way to like change myself from being someone who kind of just sits around and does nothing to someone who actually goes out and achieves the things he wants to do. So I got back from that trip, and pretty much a month later started training pretty consistently, probably 3 to 4 times a week at the start.
Yep.
Yeah, lost all the weight pretty quickly, probably over 6 months. I lost about 30 kilos and I've never really looked back, kind of just committed to keep training and improving from there.
I love that. I love that Machine Gun Joe story of being 103 kilos and now fighting for titles at 75 kilos. That's a great story. It's not uncommon, and it's definitely something that we can help people with when they come through the doors, encourage. And as a coach, the most satisfying thing is to see that person go from like not just fat to skinny, but from excuse maker to problem solver to weak to strong. I really love that transformation, you know, and it never stops. Once you can, if you can keep yourself inside that mindset, it never stops. What's one of the things that you do to kind of like keep yourself from making those excuses like you might have in the past?
Yeah, I think so that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I think what I've found along the journey is you kind of hit levels where you kind of feel like you're satisfied with that, and then that's kind of held me back a little bit. Like, it's okay, now I've lost the weight, I don't need to be so on top of it anymore. But it's like, no, if you want to keep improving and stay on this journey, you need to set new goals and keep setting new goals. So it's like, all right, I've made the weight, I've taken the weight off, let's go in and have our first fight.
Yeah, I like that word too, unsatisfied. Like to be a little bit unsatisfied and self-critical all the time.
Yeah.
But it always has to be paired with action. You can't go, oh, you know, the only thing wrong with the way I fight is my mindset, but not do anything to fix it. You know, like what are you doing to fix it every day? What story are you telling yourself to fix it? What suffering are you put yourself through to practice changing that mindset all the time too? Because generally, like the thing that you have to do to change that mindset, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put yourself into some uncomfortable situation that simulates a fight-like experience where you change that self-talk to what it was before to what it needs to be.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely, it's a fun thing to talk about, because I think the more we talk about it, the more it might help that person that's just starting out, that's making a lot of those funny excuses that we hear all the time.
Yeah, I think learning to be honest with yourself, that's a big part.
Yeah.
Because like I could have just told myself when I was 103 kilos, it's all right, I'll just stay here. Or if I've lost a fight for a certain reason, which has happened, it's like, oh, nah, it was the judge's fault, it was whoever's fault. And then you're probably just going to end up repeating those same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah, there's always someone to blame. You're going to blame your coach because your coach wasn't good enough. You're going to blame your wife because she doesn't feed you the healthy food. You're going to, you know, like, there's all these ridiculous excuses that people come. You'll blame your kids for you not being able to make training, which I personally think is the worst excuse ever. It's like, you know what, show your kids a good example that you can get there, and because you're going to have to get them to sports, and then when they're adults, they're going to have to be able to show a good example for their kids as well. Like there's a range of crazy excuses, and you know, like as a trainer or someone that's been in the gym fighting for a while, you realize, you know, like a dozen, 2 dozen fights down the track after you watch all these people that have been talking about fighting since when you started, and still haven't made the commitment to get it done yet.
Yeah,
What do you think's the number one thing that stops people from taking those first couple of steps to committing to the amount of training necessary to fight?
I think definitely fear. Probably fear of the unknown, and probably fear of the uncomfort that they're going to have to go through. Like you said, it's not really. I personally enjoy the training and I found it fun, but there's definitely times where you're going to be uncomfortable at the start if your fitness is lacking. You're going to feel like you can't breathe and you're going to get sore and tired.
And it's not the fight itself that's uncomfortable, I think, for people. You know, like if I said to a whole heap of guys, you can fight next weekend, they'd probably put their hand up.
Yeah.
But it's that, no, you don't just get to fight next weekend, you got to spar every weekend. You're going to do this, you're going to do that, you need to drop a couple of kilos, okay? You know, and then we grade the commitment up here. It's like you have your first couple of fights and then we slowly get you down closer to the correct weight that you need to be competing at. And then, you know, like I said to you, when you started getting those shin guards off for you, I started asking you to do extra conditioning, you know, booking in for more pad sessions, you know, all those things that you need to keep upping the level of commitment, you know, because like I personally believe if you want to be a successful athlete, you should be definitely looking at somewhere between 10 and 15 sessions a week. Now that's 10, 15 hours a week that you have to do. People are like, whoa, where am I going to fit in that 15 hours? And it's like, well, if you only sleep 8 hours a day, you know, there's 16 hours a day left. If you work 10 of those, there's 6 hours a day there. You've still got 3 hours of nothing after that 3 hours of training.
It's all about reminding yourself why you're doing it. I think once you have those reasons kind of firm in your head, it becomes a lot easier to make the changes you need to get it done.
Yeah, especially too if you're looking to get people involved in, like, you know, like fighting isn't like just something that you do once or twice. It's actually like, it's a warrior lifestyle, and you earn your way up the ranks until you reach the warrior class, as far as I'm concerned. That way, by the time you get there, you've earned your way in, and you're less likely to get hurt. You know? Otherwise, you're part of the student class. Still, you know, like I think that's definitely a fire people have to get past. There isn't an entitlement to step in through the ring or in the cage. I think you should have to earn it, especially when you're risking like your health and possible brain damage. You know?
I think it comes back again to that fear. Like, I know I've definitely thought at the start, like, what makes me good enough to think that I could go on and just keep fighting and winning and all this, but having now done it mildly successfully for probably 3 years, it's like, why not me? Why couldn't I do the work and get it done?
Yeah, all your opponents are just meat and bones like you too. All you actually need is that mindset to have the drive to do a little bit more than the other guy. You know, like if you are aiming to do just as much as the other guy, then just be prepared to be average. You know, like you want to be doing a little bit more than the other guy. You want to be training a little bit smarter than the other guy. You know, like we're always looking to improve our training systems here. You know, and some of the stuff that we could do, you know, like the borders on the line of, you know, being very different to how other clubs generally train, and it's something that, you know, people notice when they come here. But, you know, like the proof's in the pudding itself. You know, like generally the guys for their first fight, we have about an 80-90% win rate, you know, and then for the year, I think this year we're sitting well above 75% for the fights that we had, you know, like, and I always promise if students do what I ask of them, we'll win over 50% of the fights. That's my promise. 51%. 51%.
Yeah, I think we've proved that over the years that if you listen and follow the program, it does seem to work to at least that 50%.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for the chat today, Joseph. Hopefully we get some good content out of that, or some people learn some lessons. It's always fun talking about martial arts. Not just a student now, one of my coaches as well. So I'm sure we'll have many more of these chats and drop them on YouTube and make some cool videos for you also. Thanks for that.
Thank you very much.